In today's video, guys, we're going to talk about the best legendary damage dealers in Dragonheir Silent Gods. Which ones you should skill up first. That's very, very important to make sure you're getting the best result for your team, right? Welcome to the channel, everyone. If you enjoy the content, smash a like, subscribe to the channel, click on that bell and turn on all notifications to make sure you won't be missing out on any of the future videos. Now, this is a pretty important topic, guys, because even if you're a whale, you're still gonna be limited on the scrolls. What characters should I build first? Okay, I have this character, that character. Which ones are the best? Which ones will give me the best result when I'm talking about doing the Continental Challenge bosses, the endgame bosses, and all that stuff, right? So, what we're gonna do in this video, guys, we're gonna talk about the damage dealers. But one thing that I quickly wanna mention as well is that I'm not going to include the exclusive characters. Why? Because we already know that they are the freaking best, more or less. So we're not going to put them on the list. We have 6 exclusive characters. We have Flora, Lotair, we have Nasty Jenka, we have Talendor, you have Vitar, and of course you have Lerwanis. We all know they are amazing and they are the best in slot, more or less. Maybe with a small exemption and Talendor. But the rest of them, each elemental affinity has kind of like a few damage dealers. Not that many if you're thinking about it, right? If you're looking at the actual screen, you have a few, but not that many. We're going to start with the wild characters. The very first damage dealer that you should be skilling up in here, guys, for the best damage output is going to be Caspar. He is the best wild damage dealer after Flora. Hands down, he can do crazy, crazy damage if you set him up right. And you have other wild characters going after he puts the mark on the enemy. You're going to get a lot of freaking damage. And he does hit pretty, pretty hard. I would strongly recommend you to invest in him first. Now, the next thing right here is getting a bit more tricky because they are damage enablers. They are characters that enhance your team, and then you have Rash in the wild, which sucks as a DPS. Not very useful all around. But then you have Erich and you have Felicity, okay? Now, you could argue it and say that the first one to scroll for the wild should be Felicity because, heck, she brings the defense down, she enables you to do a lot of damage. But one reason why I'm going to argue that is the fact that she's going to gain ultimate energy on crit hits, which means that she's going to get to rotate her ultimate skill pretty damn often without having scrolls in her skill. She's not going to do crazy damage like Caspar, but she will enable your entire team to do a lot of damage, while she does a considerable amount of damage too. So that being said, she should be the next in line, okay? She does have the recharge, gains 3% ultimate energy when battle skill and ultimate skill trigger crit hits, which means that she's gonna go and go and go and go and go if you build her right, and you don't really need to have the scrolls in her to basically still gain a lot of value. Moving on to the next one, we have the poison element. I want to talk about top 2 from each one of them because that should give you an idea. The third one should be Erich for the wild, for example. If we're talking about the poison, without a doubt, Twitch is the GOAT. Okay, absolutely insane. As a DPS, as an enabler for Lotair, crazy, crazy powerful. He can deal derivative damage, land a lot of poisons, and if you build this character right to deal derivative damage, while you give him some accuracy as well, he's going to absolutely shock you. He's very, very powerful. Literally, in some situations, he can compete even with Lotair. So, Twitch should be the main priority. Then, it is getting a bit more complicated because you have Vikana, you have Jatalia, which are really good. They can have a good damage output. Jatalia requires a whale, Kraken build, high inspiration, and she's so much freaking RNG that I hate her, okay? It's all about keeping these freaking thorny poison stacks on the boss up to 20 all the time to deal crazy damage, derivative damage. And that's funky and nice versus some bosses. Not very useful in general content, unlike Twitch, right? So I'm not gonna say she's the second best, but as a third option, you could go Vicana as a third or fourth option, up to you. Durango, a very good enabler, a very good Witches Remains character, especially if you're running Twitch already in the team. He crits, he goes ham, okay? And multi-hits, that's what makes him really interesting too, because you can easily put Witches Remains on him. So yes, I would say that he could be the second to go and build, because you get him in, you get Twitch, you get, for example, Corin in the team, and another filler, and you're gonna have an insane result. But at the same time, you can argue it and say, well, Skratch, I can get Twitch, Vicana, Corin, and another random and still do good damage. 100%. But if we're talking about overall general utility, it's kind of like Twitch, Durango, good enabler, Vicana, really good as well, though. Even though I freaking hate her. Then, let's move on to the next one. We have the Lightning, the Dauntless. No questions asked. Velios is the freaking GOAT. He deals derivative damage. If you get him, he should be your main priority in terms of skill ups. Crazy damage. Sometimes, if you're putting him in a team with Nasty Jenka without the exclusive, you might out-damage the exclusive character, right? And it's just the passive. Having this chance, if you have Inspiration 2 on him, is actually huge. I cannot wait to get that on my account. Next, a lot of you guys are asking, Skratch, should I build Garrett? Should I build Sura? Tarivol is the next in line because he's crazy, crazy good as well to trigger the rest to do more damage. And he can deal pretty good damage himself too. You can run the Witch's Remains on him as well, depending on what builds you're running. But Tarivol, Velios, and then some others, whatever you have available, will be a very, very good combination. If not, Suta is really good too. Very good to apply Witch's Remains because it has a 5-hitter on the third skill, which is pretty damn big. Garrett, no. You have epic characters that I would build instead of Garrett. For example, you can run Shelter, another derivative damage character, which is really, really good. You can run a Vanny, you can run a freaking Nimbus, and still perform really good. Don't invest in Garrett, unless they will buff him at some point. Who knows? They might do it. Then, moving on to the next one. We have the rally characters. So, Talendor is the weakest exclusive out of all of them. Huberg out-damages Talendor in most cases. So, the best damage dealer for rally is going to be Huberg. Now, the one problem with rally, they are nothing without Lorantil, which is their activator, okay? And it's just too important. Lorantil needs to be the first one you skill up. No questions asked. He's the activator, not even the damage dealer. But they really, really need it. Huberg is the best damage dealer by far in most of the content, having the ability to generate more orbs and more strikes. Really, really powerful. He should be your main thing, main priority in terms of skilling up. Then Filto. Filto is good as well. AoE in straight line. Beats restrained on what he can do, but he can have very good damage output. And then you have Alton, which is kind of like an activator rather than him doing crazy damage, a bit of an enabler. He does not compare with Lorantil, okay? But he could apply defense down if you give him the Witch's Remains and fill up a rally team with the 4 characters I've just named. Or you can drop Filto, bring in Talendor if you have him. He's going to perform a bit better because he does have a massive AoE. But out of all of the exclusives, he is the weakest. Then, if we're going to head on to the Frost element, guys. Right here, we actually have Losenia, which is a great activator that can be transformed into a pretty good damage dealer. But then Oster is the GOAT DPS in here. Like, he's going to have a very, very good damage output. He's gaining this ultimate energy, which will enable him to jump and use this skill more often. The only problem is that he might attack before the Frost is applied on the enemies. And that kind of like defines the whole purpose of Frost damage dealers, because they do have an enhanced skill when they attack enemies under Frost, right? But Oster, if you don't have Vitar, of course, worth building. If you have Vitar, it's a bit more subjective if you should build him. I built him, I don't use him anywhere. I could use him in PvP, but really not using him anywhere at all. And that's mainly because I have all of the other damage dealers. And I feel like if you are in the same situation, yeah, you got Vitar, no need to build Oster. You can build Losenia, and you could build Hochadir as a DPS / tank enabler. He's kind of like a bruiser. He does self buff. He buffs the ally with the highest attack with attack up, which is really good. He can inflict frost, detonate it, and deal good damage as well on the entire map. Overall, he can push in some damage numbers. Activate your team, pretty decent. The attack up, which is definitely a plus. Drist is the weakest as a DPS out of this elemental affinity. Fun to play in some content, but really not a must build or anything like that, unless you really have no other options, right? Because you have very powerful options. For example, you have Vidimir, which is crazy good this time around. He used to be trash in the past. Now he's just goated as an epic character. And moving on to the final elemental affinity, let's ignore Lelwonis. She is great, right? But the problem here is the fact that you only really have a very good damage dealer, which is Premza. Crazy good derivative damage. She's going bananas, a lot of damage. So yes, if you do not have Lelwonis, she should be the first one you are investing in. I've done it on the free-to-play account. It literally changed my account progression. Really powerful. But then you have Centralia, which really enables one of your summoners to do crazy damage. Most of your summoners will suck without Ursilas, which buffs them with attack up and damage up, which is huge, by the way. But you can run him with Witch's Remains, with Rift Hourglass and no skill ups. That's how I'm running him on the free-to-play account. Not the most ideal outcome, but it does the job. It gets the job done, right? And then you have Ladelia, which is free, and I think she is the weakest out of all of them. Like, it's hard to fit her in a team if you have all of the other ones available, because she becomes pretty irrelevant. But in a way, you could argue it and say the same for Premza, because you're going to run Lelwonis, Ursilas, Ladelia, Centralia, sorry, the trio right here in the corner, and they're going to get pretty much the job done. They're going to demolish all of the freaking content, right? But this is everything for the video, guys. These are the best legendary damage dealers in the game, excluding the exclusive characters, the rare or / premium characters that we have, okay? And that's how I would prioritize in building them / scrolling them. I think that's very, very important. And let me know if you guys agree, disagree. Put it down in the comments down below. As usual, appreciate all of you guys watching. Much love, and I will catch you all in the next video. Peace.